Okay, thank you. I have my timer to keep this lightning. Okay, so hello, and what I really wish I knew about student learning is what opportunities a student has had, what skills they've developed, what a student has done with the opportunities they've been given, and what opportunities they've created for themselves. So I was asked particularly to speak as a member of a grad admissions committee, but as Barry just said, I also give out a lot of grades. So I teach intro bio here, and we have about 550 students. And so I do, in a few weeks, I'll be assigning a whole lot of grades. I also regularly evaluate potential students, both as a member of a grad admissions committee, but also I have 8 undergrads working in my lab right now, plus 4 graduate students. And so I think about this topic both as someone who gives grades and then as someone who evaluates a lot of transcripts. So some of what I want to know is the basic stuff that is partially covered by current transcripts. I want to know about what sorts of classes a student has taken. Have they been exposed to ecology and evolutionary biology? Have they taken quantitative courses? But I also want to know about what opportunities students have had. Did they challenge themselves with their classes? Did they take the easiest path to a degree? And I especially want to know about what they learned in the classes that they did take. Did they ever have to analyze a figure showing data they'd never seen before? Did they learn how to read and evaluate primary literature? Did they have to take information from different sources and evaluate how reliable that information was and synthesize it into a coherent argument? Did they learn how to write scientifically? Have they ever designed an experiment or analyzed data? So right now, I can tell from a transcript what courses a student took, but it's really impossible to know what was expected of them in those courses. And to explain some more about this from my perspective as an instructor, in some intro bio courses, a student getting an A means that they're really good at taking in a whole lot of information and memorizing it and then spitting it back out. But my course emphasizes higher order thinking, and so I expect students to be able to apply concepts they've learned about to novel scenarios. On an exam, I will give them a figure of data that they've never seen before that comes from a scientific manuscript, and I will expect them to interpret that information using the concepts they've learned in class. And so right now, if someone looks at the transcript and the letter grade that a student received in my course, they don't know if it means that they're really good at memorizing or if they're really good at applying concepts and thinking, constructing new knowledge. And so right now, the only way someone knows that is if I write a letter of recommendation for a student. And occasionally I have students ask me for this, and this is hard to do in a class with 550 students. I mostly don't get to know students very well. But sort of an advantage of the current state of our transcripts is that I can actually spend a paragraph or so just explaining the course and what's expected of a student, and that I need to do that in a letter of recommendation to tell what a student learned in my course, I think reveals a real shortcoming that we have to our current transcripts. When I'm evaluating applicants to our graduate program, I also want to know about what else was going on in the student's life. Were they working 30 hours a week? Were they caring for a parent or a sibling or a child? Did they run a dog training business on the side? Right? Did they have some other major responsibility that was taking up their time? And part of that is because I've found that if a student was able to take courses and do reasonably well, get some research experience, and then have some other major time commitment, that shows me that they have really good time management skills and they're really good at persevering. And that's some of the most important skills for succeeding in graduate school and in science. And I think there is a lot of talk now about perseverance or grit or whatever you want to call it, but I think that's for good reason. And so I can think of one recent applicant who was really impressive because she had gone to a summer research experience that seemed like it would be amazing, and then she got there and it was just totally different than what she expected. But she was able to take those lemons and make lemonade, and it really showed that she could deal with hiccups and what was really a major hurdle and still come out, learning from that experience and getting something out of it. And that really spoke a lot. But that was something that didn't come from a transcript, that came from her letters of recommendation especially, and then also from personal statements. And as a grad admissions committee member, I'm asked to compare applicants with extremely diverse experiences, and I really struggle with this aspect of sitting on a graduate admissions committee. So I can think of one case where we had an applicant who had gone to Harvard, had research experience, and was a co-author on a publication. That seems like a pretty sure bet. But there was also a student who had gone to a small regional college who had, it seemed, taken advantage of every single research opportunity she had at that college. But her research statement was about the one time she got to use a centrifuge. And so this was just a very different level of experience. And there's nothing to say that she's any less promising than the student who went to Harvard. She just had different opportunities. So in that case, I didn't really have a way to evaluate what she had learned in her classes. I could see she'd taken a lot of classes and had done well, but I didn't have a way to learn. But then I can think of another applicant who had gone to a small college, and she had, as part of a project, part of a program she did there, she had synthesized the literature and proposed novel research. And it wasn't something that she went on to go and do, but it showed me she had those skills. She was able to think deeply about problems, and she was able to sort of see novel paths forward. And in some cases, I think it's these students who are coming from less traditional backgrounds, the ones who didn't go to Harvard, who can see really interesting new areas for us to do research in. And so I would love to have a better way of capturing their knowledge. And then what I want to end with is just that I think one advantage also to not just having a single grade and instead to focus on proficiency is I think it could really reduce student stress. And this is something that our next speaker will talk about more. But I think if students have many opportunities to show that they have a skill or a proficiency, that would reduce a lot of the stress that our students currently experience when they have to perform on a certain day at a certain time. So to summarize, the things I want to know about student learning are, yes, I want to know about what classes a student took, but more I want to know about what was expected of them in those classes. What skills do they have? And I mean both the academic skills, like writing and analyzing data, but also things more in the realm of life skills, like time management. And then I want to know what opportunities they had, how hard they had to work for those opportunities, and whether they made the most of them. Thank you.